here's a quick little tutorial for those in physics and science who are struggling with algebra. Hopefully this will help things out. So if we are given an equation that looks like this and asked to solve for x, what would we do? What would be the number one step?
I don't know.
Okay. The trouble that I think most people have is dealing with the letters in this problem, that they're not numbers. So I want to look at this problem in terms of numbers, the way that you would, say, in junior high math class. So let's look at this equation. We want to solve this equation for x. How would we go about doing this one? First step to any algebra, okay, we have to follow order of operations. And order of operations, we have to do for algebra, we have to do it backwards. Everything in algebra is backwards. So, drawing a blank.
Maybe
Bed mass.
Bed mass?
Yes. For bed mass, we do order of operations with numbers. We have to follow bed mass. Brackets first, then our exponents, divides and multiplies, then adding and subtracting. For algebra, we're going to go the opposite direction. So the first thing we're going to deal with is adding and subtracting. We would like to solve for x. So if there is anything on the side that x is on the left-hand side of our equation that is added or subtracted, we need to move it to the other side first. We're going to do opposite operations. So we want to move the 1 to the other side. We would do the opposite operation of adding. We would subtract 1. Whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. 1 minus 1 cancels out. That's 0. On the left-hand side, it goes away and leaves us with 2x is equal to, and 7 minus 1 is 6. We've done the adding and subtracting. There's no more adding and subtracting in our equation where we're solving for x. So we move on to the next part of order of operations, which is dividing and multiplying. There's a 2 multiplied to the x. So in order to move the 2 to the other side, we have to do the opposite of multiplying. Opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we divide each side by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 cancels out. And we are left with x is equal to 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now, how do we take this idea with numbers and apply it to the one with letters? I would like to start by taking this same exact equation that we had here, and I want to do this exact same, so we're going to do the same steps, but instead of doing the simplification, I'm going to leave it the way it was. We're not going to simplify. It's going to look a little ugly, but that's okay. The first step we did here was we dealt with the adding and subtracting. We subtracted 1 from each side. We were left with 2x on the left side. Now I know that 7 minus 1 is 6. We wrote that over there. But I'm just going to write it like this. It looks goofy, but I'm going to leave it as 7 minus 1. The next step we did was, again, we divided by 2. We divided by 2. And again, I know that we can simplify this side. I know the numbers, it's kind of goofy. But I'm just going to leave it like this as my answer. And it's ugly, but this is just this. 7 minus 1 is 6, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. We get the same answer, it's just written a different way.
Oh.
Now, with this idea, we're going to do exactly the same math when we have letters. Okay? The problem with letters is that you cannot simplify them like we did the numbers. But the steps are exactly the same as what we've done. Okay. We're going to look at this equation, and this equation is exactly the same as this equation. That b is a 2, that c is a 1, and the d is a 7. If we took out the b, c's, and d's and put in 2's, 1's, and 7's, we get the same exact equation. So to rearrange this equation, we are going to do exactly the same steps as we did here. We're going to subtract the thing that is added to the x first. So we're going to subtract, it's a c, not a 1, but that's okay. And we canceled it out. We still have b times x on this side. And we went d minus c. And I'm just going to write it d minus c. The same way we wrote it 7 minus 1 over here. The next step was we have something multiplied to our x, so we're going to divide to move it to the other side. We're going to divide by b. Cancels out, cancels out. X is equal to d minus c over b. Now, if we look at this answer, and we go back and say, look, the d we said was a 7, the c we said was a 1, and the b we said was a 2, although it's letters, we get exactly the same thing as this. 7 minus 1 divided by 2. 7 minus 1 divided by 2. It's the same pattern. We get the same pattern. And this, although it's ugly, is just this. Just 3. We got all 3 of these steps are exactly the same. All 3 of these equations are exactly the same. Hope it helps.